So welcome everybody to another episode of Chocolate Travels. My name is Joseph of Bean to Bar World, and I'm here with Tony and Ruth from Turtle Mountain Chocolate. How are you guys doing?
Hi, we're doing great, thank you.
Nice to meet you guys. And you're in Vernon, so not too far from me. So let's start from the beginning. Which one of you was the one that sort of decided? How did you come across Bean to Bar Chocolate? Is your background in culinary in any way? So how did it all come together for you
How
guys?
did it all happen? Okay, that's going to be my story.
Okay.
Well, we were down in San Francisco for our wedding anniversary back in 2018, at the end of August, and we had not heard of Bean to Bar Chocolate whatsoever. But I know in San Francisco there's Ghirardelli. I wanted to go and see Ghirardelli chocolate factory. I wanted to go to a chocolate factory. It was closed. It was closed.
Oh, okay.
But I wanted to go and see a chocolate factory. So we did some Googling and we saw this little one in the Mission called Dandelion. And off we go. And we ended up sitting in this little hip cafe and was absolutely blown away by the wall of different chocolate. Like, we had no idea. Now, I've been baking from scratch since I was about 7. So I wanted to try their baked treats. I wanted to sit and have a coffee. And we just sat there. And I don't think we've ever sat in a cafe for more than, I don't know, an hour. We were there for over 2 hours. And we were just blown away. And we ended up buying their book, Making Chocolate. So this was at the end of August. And it was our anniversary gift to each other. And then in November, and then by December, by Christmas, we both had a week off work. And we said, okay, let's go through the book. And we made our first chocolate. We got beans from, chocolate.
So when you were there at the cafe, you thought, I want to make this too. That's sort of, you decided then.
Yeah, and which was really surprising because Tony is not a sugar guy. He doesn't eat sweets, and so it was really like I was blown away. He was blown away too, but it was more.
It was more the fascination of being able to make something yourself and have control over a process. Because there are other things that we make. We grow our own stuff, and it was just another thing to do, and just the curiosity around it. I think just piqued my interest.
Yeah, so I was surprised that he wanted to buy a book on how to make chocolate.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, let's do that.
The chocolate was so good. I mean,
it was,
when you first encounter Bean to Bar, and
it's different, totally different.
Completely different.
Yeah.
And then we started making it, and just for ourselves, and had our family taste it and whatnot. And
the first year was terrible. It was just disgusting chocolate.
Well,
was it really?
It wasn't
what was wrong with it?
It ended up being over roasted.
Oh, okay. So it tasted burnt?
Yeah. There was always an acrid taste. And the cut we were using at that time, the initial bean we used was Madagascar. And if you don't treat it well, you can get that acrid sort of, it had a bit of a really strong grapefruit ending on it, and really hard to get rid of. It may have just been the year, the actual harvest.
Yeah, it could have been the batch.
Yeah.
But that's how we got into it. And then we started sharing it just to sort of see what people thought, and we got actually quite good.
The intervening event was I went down to Seattle and saw John Nancy. Your listeners probably know, was one of the guys that sort of was very instrumental in developing Bean to Bar, especially for small guys like us. Did his roasting course, and I was able to meet other individuals like myself who wanted to learn how to roast, who had all our roasting experience, had some of the same issues, and we just problem solved a lot, which was so educational and informative for us. So with that sort of newfound knowledge, I put a probe in the little coffee roaster. I was able to do some ramps and just figure it all out. And at the time, it just improved slowly, but it did.
Yeah.
And I guess it got good enough that you wanted to start selling it.
Well, yeah, our neighborhood back in Ottawa, first, they were our guinea pigs as well, and they started saying, well, this is good and started to
Okay.
get some.
Oh, so you're from Ottawa originally?
Yeah. We've only
Okay.
been in the Okanagan a couple of years, and only
Okay.
less than a year in Vernon.
Okay. And so did you start selling it in Ontario or here in Vernon?
We started in just very, very, very small, but in Ottawa,
Okay.
just the neighbors and people who wanted to try our chocolate. So we just yeah, okay.
Nice.
But we didn't we rebranded as Turtle Mountain Chocolate here in because we're on Turtle Mountain. So
Excellent. And so you mentioned a little bit of some of the challenges where, you didn't like the chocolate at first, maybe it was the beans. You had issues roasting, you kind of learned that. What other challenges stood out to you at the beginning when you were trying to make your chocolate?
Well, I guess one of the first challenges, we were scaling up. So up until then, we were using very small machines. We got some bigger machines, and there is a learning process to kind of figure out, how long do you now melange for, and we're still using small roasters, just many more.
Yeah.
And also how to sort of streamline our processes, because you're making a lot more, and you've got to be more efficient. Otherwise, you're spending your whole day in the factory just making chocolate.
Right.
So that was a bit of a challenge. The next challenge was coming up with some packaging that kind of looked neat. And fortunately, I have a daughter who's a graphic designer and an artist.
Oh, nice.
So she helped us come up with something that made sense where we lived and had sort of the brand image that we wanted to have. So that worked out quite well. But even then, I was learning Adobe InDesign. I knew Photoshop, but even just trying to get everything within the proper dimensions was a challenge. Or pick out the right printer and all the kind of things you have to do when you do.
Because we do everything from
yourselves.
Everything. We print. Yeah. I hand foil, I hand wrap every bar because he doesn't know how to wrap a Christmas present, so that would be me. So everything is done here.
Okay. And so let's talk about what, other than the fascination of all this, what drives you to do what you do? What do you hope that your business will achieve other than making chocolate?
I think we want to get the education is out there. We want to
why?
When we go to the market and when we do our tasting events or whatnot, we are teaching them about the cacao industry. And I think that needs to be just broadened. So the more bean to bar makers out there to get the word out. I think that's what drives us more than having, we've got kilos of chocolate in the house. It's not because we want chocolate to eat. It's just we want to help the farmers. We want to.
Yeah, we had another intervening event that I think really helped solidify in our brain the connection. We volunteered in Grenada for a little while on a cacao plantation. We met the farmers, not only the farmers where we were volunteering, but also farmers on the island, and sort of hearing the stories about sort of the government, for lack of a better word, manipulation or siphoning off of the profits, learning how they're not getting any of the money that's coming out of it, learning about the black market, learning about how it impacts the community, the environment, how it actually helps people, and learning more about maybe commodity chocolate, how farmers are not getting paid anything, and knowing that on the fine flavored cacao they are getting paid more, and it's really just an incentive to take something that they can't really profit locally because they don't have the industry to actually sell it or the income to do it, and bring it over here. And it's almost like a wealth transfer a little bit, helping us or receive money here and then use that money to buy more abroad. And for me, that's a very strong connection. Our motto is the more we sell, the more beans we can buy and help farmers.
Right.
And that really solidifies, at least for us.
Okay. So being very transparent to your customers about where the cacao is coming from, and whether the farmers are well compensated, that seems to be a big part of it. Yeah. Okay. Is it a challenge for you there in Vernon to differentiate your chocolate from other chocolate brands, like Hershey and Cadbury? Some people in the Okanagan might not have any conception of bean to bars. So how do you get this message across to those people? Or are some people familiar with it already?
I think that both. So some people are definitely familiar with bean to bar,
Okay.
either ours or other makers in the area. But because we were out there at the markets or at the artisan shows or whatnot, we're always in communication. Like, people come and say, "Oh, what do you have?" And then we start talking about, "Oh, this is bean to bar chocolate. We make it from the bean, and we only get fine cacao beans." So we're educating them on the spot. So then they realize, wow, all that work, and then that's why this bar is this price. And then you have to ask the question, well, why is the bar that you buy only $2 or $3? That's a bigger question versus why is it a $10 or $15 bar or whatnot, right?
Right.
So it's all about the education. So some people that come there have, as I said, has no idea about bean to bar chocolate, and then others do. So
yeah, and then the ultimate decision is when they taste the chocolate, and the chocolate just tastes quite different. And we chose beans that make very tasteful chocolate, and they automatically, especially if you're a person who's lived off Lindt and swears by Lindt, suddenly you're thinking, this doesn't taste like Lindt. This actually doesn't taste bitter. Sort of disabuses them of all the things they thought about dark chocolate.
Yeah.
And so to them, it's an eye opener, and they just love it. The fact that chocolate can have a different flavor and potential than normal chocolate. Okay. And then there's the individuals who, so that converting an individual who likes Lindt into somebody who likes bean to bar is not a big leap, because they've crossed the Rubicon and having dark bitter chocolate, and now they have flavorful dark chocolate.
Something even better, yeah.
Yeah. If the individuals who have lived off the Hershey's that are paying $2 and Dollarama chocolate, and who have said, I'm only milk. Like, I don't want to do dark because it's so bitter. They've sort of tasted the Lindt and said, this is not for me. And then, they may buy one of our milks, but I always get them to try one of the darks. And when they do, it's like, oh, this doesn't taste like a dark. No, this tastes like a fine flavored cacao. And then you slowly get them over, and they end up buying the milk. But
but we just want them to try it. And Tony has now come up with a really nice 100%, because we've had a lot of people who are diabetics. And then so, well, we don't want sugar, so we've got a nice 85, and we've got a nice 100, and people go 100, and try it. Just try it. It's been well received, I think, overall. Okay. Not everybody's cup of tea, but it is. I think we've done better than anticipated with the 100. So that's kind of nice. So. But it's just.
Yeah, I do the same over here. I get a lot of people who are willing to try the dark, who say they don't like it, and they're pleasantly surprised most of the time. Yeah. And then there's a few people that they say, maybe it's better than commercial, but they still don't like it. They still like the milk, which is fine, because, purchasing a fine milk chocolate, you're still appreciating a higher quality product. You're still helping sustain that network to buy cacao and to make really good chocolate with it. So it works either way, whether they like the dark or not. Yeah.
And then, of course, people want the inclusions. Oh, do you have this and that? Because then they're more familiar with a candy bar. Right. So we want some that sort of help,
Chocolate's been, because commercial chocolate is so dim in flavor, people are so used to it being a carrier for other things, nuts, mints, and all that sort of stuff. So I guess you have to have some of those as well. You have a few of those.
Yeah, we do. We have quite a lot of variety just to sort of appease.
Okay. So that brings me to my next question. You sell quite a range of single origins and flavored bars. So which bars and flavors would you say are the most popular today? What sort of flavors do you carry? What range do you carry? Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so we have everything from white to milk to dark milk and to just single origin. We definitely sell more of the inclusion bars and on the white side.
Okay.
So people sort of gravitate to what they like. So we have a white raspberry bar called Raspberry First. That's our
probably our biggest seller.
It's just just bursts with raspberry flavor. We've got mint's always very popular. Mint nibble, again, that's a milk mint. The milk is popular, and then on the dark side, people love cherries. So we have our Tanzania.
That's a good combination.
Yeah. This
But we
year
have a
has
dark cherry as well, and
we
we
have
get
dark cherry.
our cherries from Naramata, so it's a local cherry farmer.
Oh, nice.
We also sent the Tanzania Coca Camellia bar, which is just full of cherry last year, and that's our biggest seller on the single origin side. And flavors that people can recognize. The complex, but we have a couple complex bars. People appreciate them, but they always gravitate to familiar.
Right. It's important to reflect the flavors of where you live, the flavors that people have, right? Okanagan, cherries, maybe peaches one day, you know? Yeah.
Peaches, I think, would be more for a white bar because it's a very mild flavor anyway. I wouldn't put it with a dark. We have a dark raspberry. I like to candy peels, okay? And so I do this orange bar, but I can only have it for only a certain time period because it's got a very short shelf life. Because you candy an orange peel and you put it on the chocolate, it's absolutely beautiful. Because I do all of that myself, but it dries quickly, so you have to get out, say, okay, eat this one first, bring it away. But they just like, wow, that's so orangey. It's not like an orange oil or anything like that. So we do a few with that, and we do vegan, like a dairy-free milk. We do an oat milk, and we do a coconut milk as well.
Okay.
So again, we're trying to.
Which one's the more popular of is it the oat milk or the coconut milk? Do people like more?
I would, because the coconut milk is a dark milk.
Okay.
So it's cocoa, whereas the coconut milk one is a white chocolate, and I use vanilla bean, so it's a white chocolate, and people do like that as well.
But we once had a dark coconut milk. That was made for people who are dairy sensitive. It didn't sell very well.
Yeah. The coconut one I find is some people love it and some people just hate coconut, right? So it's hard sometimes.
Exactly. So that's why we tried it with the oat. And we put almonds on top as well to keep it sort of more earthy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's got, like, you can taste a little bit of the oat milk in the chocolate, but then when you put the almonds on top, it feels like you're not a granola bar, but you know what I mean? It's got that sort of healthy.
And those are familiar combination of flavors, oats, almonds, chocolate.
Yeah, so it's a nice bar. I like it anyway, and I eat everything. So.
And how would you say Canadians view and value chocolate? You know, you have a bit of a view from Ontario to BC, got different people there.
Yeah, they value it. It's interesting. Most people we meet value it as a treat or something to give away on a special occasion. So a lot of people buy bars for other people. Sometimes I say, you're buying this all for yourself, all for someone else. How about yourself? Oh no, it's not a special occasion yet. You know, I'll do that.
Interesting.
So that's kind of funny when I see that. A few people are clients who eat it for medicinal purposes. They know it's healthy, so they buy, a bar every week, or they just may enjoy trying different bars. But mainly as a treat, I find something sweet to have after dinner, or in the Okanagan, people like to have it with wine, or a charcuterie board. So we try to cater to those individuals as well.
Very nice. Yeah, I think a lot of people still have the perception that chocolate is sort of an indulgence, and then some people, like you said, work it into their daily consumption of food. They find a place for it and they see it more as a food than a treat.
And a few people, one lady I know, she loves her stuff, and she made the mistake one day saying, "I love your candy bars," and I could have like candy bars.
Yeah, I remember someone said that to me once when I was living in New Zealand. They came into the shop and said they're Americans. They use that word a lot, candy bars, and I didn't want to be rude. I couldn't say anything, but that word is just blasphemous when it comes to chocolate.
Yeah. It's worse when they say for your 100% bar too. It's like there's weakness in that.
Yeah, exactly. So there's an interesting question. I was just curious. It's hitting Canadians a lot. Do you think the issue of inflation and rising costs in Canada will impact consumers' willingness to purchase fine chocolate? So I asked this question because a lot of people, I'm here in Salmon Arm, I'm fairly new, and this concept of fine chocolate, $10, $12, $14 chocolate bars is very new to them, but it's also at the same time that grocery prices and everything's going up. So do you think that's having an effect, selling your chocolate, getting it across? Are people kind of turned off because of that price? What would you say?
No, not yet. And we chose a price point that, if they're going to buy a latte at a Starbucks, it's
Mm,
well comparable. So
mm.
they're not sort of saying that's way too expensive.
Okay, okay.
I think I've heard people say, $14, I'm not going to do it. And we don't sell anything that expensive. But
Mm,
they have a lot of peanut bars saying that's just too much for me in terms of
right,
what I'm. And but our bars are $10. The inclusion bars are 12.
right, right.
We haven't really had any hesitation yet, other
Mm,
than certain people who it's not a question of inflation. They just refuse to buy anything more than, like one lady said to me, I pay 87 cents a Dollarama. I'm not going to
right,
buy peanuts for $10.
right,
I was
right.
surprised. I didn't think you can buy anything for less than $1.
Me too. I thought it's $1.25
Get
now.
that from? Which one did you go to?
No,
Yeah, and that's fair enough. We
Yeah.
can't make people feel guilty or anything. People have their values of what they value. Like I'm not a huge wine buff, right? So I'm not going to be spending a lot of money on expensive wines. That's just not me, right?
ditto. But
So,
but when it comes to Christmas, let's say, or
mm,
holiday season, I don't think people care how much it is.
mm,
They are buying for other people. It is a gift. They want to show them that, look, we're getting you fine chocolate. That
right.
I think it's a different beast. But for every day, I think.
Yeah, and a lot of people, it's interesting. I guess we do it ourselves and really thought about it. But people, when they give it as gifts, have a price in mind. Like they want to give something to someone else that's worth $50,
$50 or something.
and they're then buying 5 bars to sort of come up with that number.
Right.
If it was 12, they'd maybe buy 4 bars to sort of come within that $50 limit.
Mm.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess people are more willing to splurge when they're gifting it, but for themselves, they can be a lot more practical minded,
I think
counting.
it goes out for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Other than Mother's Day.
What about Mother's Day?
On Mother's Day, we're out on the Mother's Day. And none of the kids wanted to buy bars for their parents. So
Oh, really?
the mother was right there. You're not going to buy a chocolate. You by yourself. It's like
Interesting.
your mom.
Okay. What criteria do you use to decide on which cacao? So you started with the Madagascar. Now it sounds like you have a few. What do you look for when you're trying a new cacao out?
The biggest thing is flavor, and
What about the flavor?
punchiness,
Mm,
boldness, robustness.
mm,
If something is very subtle, and you got somebody who comes to a booth and wants to buy a bar and they taste it, unless their taste buds are really attuned to the subtle flavors of chocolate, all they taste is chocolate, and it's really disappointing because you're selling flavor.
right.
So we tend to gravitate to those beans that have flavor and have also different flavors. You roast them differently, you get different flavors, and so something that has something there you can work with, and that people can say, yeah, I taste cherry in this, or I taste whatever it may be.
Yeah,
But
because
sorry.
go ahead.
We also, like, somebody that some people just say, I just want to try just have chocolate, just chocolate. I don't want all these notes in it. So we have to have one that's kind of gentle or something like that, and say, okay, this one's got more of the chocolate notes to
Right.
it, or, your earthiness or your fruities or whatnot. But
Yeah, those are good points because for some people, they say, why am I spending double, three times the price for something that tastes the same as something else? There's other reasons there, obviously, but for a new consumer, it's a logical conclusion. But at the same time, there are people who, for me, I didn't like chocolate growing up, dark chocolate especially. I thought it was kind of boring. But there's some people that love that simplistic cocoa flavor, right? So you have to have something for them as well.
exactly. But when you're trying to teach them and educate them about this cacao industry, and then you're sort of comparing us, well, just like wine and coffee, you get these flavor notes. You have to have quite a variety for them to taste so that they can say, oh, well, we use a salad from Peru that has raspberry flavor that we use for our dark raspberry base. And so they can taste the raspberry. Oh, okay, the Morambi, that has a real like caramel. Oh, can you taste the caramel? It's completely different, and they're just blown away. But if you don't have that variety of different notes, you're not going to be able to teach them.
Exactly.
So when we're coming up with what cacao beans to use, we're saying, okay, well, we've already got some fruities, we've got some of this. Let's try and find one in this area of the tasting wheel, spices or some earthy tones or something like that.
Yeah.
They may not be as popular because everybody so far likes a lot of fruit, and we've got a few that like the olive notes of the chuno or the. I found
whiskey and the spice of the Tamaco, Colombia. Yeah. We also do, like yourself, we do tasting events. So we like the variety.
Right.
Yeah,
because that might be someone's only experience, whether it's at the market or a tasting event, that might be someone's only experience, and you want them to be wowed, right? So you need that variance. When people get really into it, then, you know, if they're into fine chocolate for years, then eventually they kind of get into the subtle ones and they kind of explore that. But for most people, they need something to wow them, to get them hooked into it. Yeah. I find that people who don't like the crazy flavors, like some people, like, I don't like the fruity notes, like that's just too weird for me. They tend to like the notes that are more flavors that you traditionally have with chocolate, like nutty flavors and baked flavors and caramel. They tend to gravitate towards those flavors, I find. Yeah.
We really do a nice Haiti bar because it has a marshmallow in it. It would be really great with s'mores and so on and so forth. So when people try that, it's quite a popular bar because they're used to marshmallow with their chocolate too.
Right.
So,
right.
Again, nice. It's not fruity, it's not nutty, but it's like, wow, it's the brown sugar and molasses.
And we get a lot of family members. So, you know, the parents will come to our booth with their kids, and they're told that to taste something. Normally they gravitate to milk and say, well, actually, when you try the that has the caramel or the marshmallow. And then they have that and go, oh, this actually tastes quite good. They recognize the flavor, they like the flavor, and then end up buying a Haiti bar instead of gravitating over to a milk bar.
Very nice.
Yeah. It's fun. It's just, again, I'm a teacher by trade as well. So I like to educate people. So
that's key.
That's really the key to being smart, education, right?
It is. What would you say is the style of your chocolate? You're still fairly new, but would you say you have a specific style? Your chocolate has a style?
So I think, I think really
it's not stylish.
I can't say the chocolate is complex. We're looking for something that has a lot of flavor, and there are a few bars that have a couple flavors going forward, and we try to roast to bring out different flavors. But I know some chocolate makers like sort of the French style, having nice roasted chocolate that's creamy and
higher cocoa butter, very European.
Yeah. Ours is just, hopefully it's got a nice mouthfeel, but it's flavor that we're really trying to drive at.
Okay.
I don't know otherwise style. I don't know. If you met us, you were just.
There's some people that definitely prefer textures at the top. I've met some people where it doesn't matter what it tastes like, texture is everything for them. Me, I'm a lot more open-minded when it comes to texture. I really care about interesting flavors. I can look past texture that I'm not crazy about if the flavor is so cool, so interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we do try to, we do add a bit of cocoa butter to sort of give that mouthfeel. So that is important to us.
Yeah,
but
it depends.
Flavor and flavor combination,
right?
Especially fusion bars, like we try and pair them up properly. So, but yeah, to me, it's all flavor because even when I cook, I just don't want anything bland. I want in my mouth. I want to enjoy. I'm a foodie. I want to enjoy everything.
Right.
A lot of flavor.
Wonderful.
So, I mean that's.
And what products other than chocolate bars do you currently produce and sell?
Well, I create a chocolate hazelnut spread and with organic hazelnuts, and it's so divine. I eat it right out of the jar.
Those are addicting. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. But hazelnuts is our first ingredient, so it's really hazelnutty, and I do put a little bit of hazelnut oil in it as well. But then I also use our chocolate and nice Venezuelan cacao powder. So it's a nice one. We do some hot chocolate mixes with our chocolate, but it's basically what they consider drinking chocolate. So it's mainly chocolate that you just sort of melt down. I tell people don't mix it with hot water. Try and use at least a milk base or whatever. I use cream. Like with 35% cream. Let's put some chocolate in it. Let's stir it around just like the Europeans do.
Right.
I mean, you don't have a lot. It's like a little espresso cup. You don't, you know, but it's just, so we make those as well.
Brownies.
And brownies, because I bake.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Those brownies. And at Christmas time, I make a shortbread with orange as well as the orange peel as well as the chocolate and sea salt.
That sounds really good.
Oh, they are. I can't have them in the house. Like, no, I have to either make them and sell them, or, you know, that's it. I'm just.
Need to get like a chest freezer or something and have a lock.
Yeah, that doesn't make a difference, you know. I can eat them raw, I can eat them frozen, I can eat them baked and frozen.
That's
anyway,
funny.
they're very nice. But we're trying to come up with some other ideas, but basically just chocolate, because we're trying to get that chocolate out there.
Right.
But people are saying, "Oh, do you have this or do you have?"
Do people ask you for chocolate for baking? Is that something people request?
Yeah, actually, we just a neighbor had just asked us for some this week, and because I cook with the baking with our chocolate, but it's not untempered, so it's just blocked chocolate.
Yeah.
So I just cut some up for her and weighed it and gave it to her. But
also ceremonial cacao. We've had a few
yeah,
people ask for ceremonial cacao, so we've
cacao.
made some.
But again, that's all untempered chocolate. So for tempered baking chocolate, I don't even know why we need to temper it unless we're using it as chips.
Exactly. But you don't need to. Yeah.
You don't need to, right?
No.
So, no.
And it saves cost in a way because it's so much labor to get it to temper. But if you're just pulling out of the machine, straining it, and then chopping it up, that saves you so much time, and you could sell it at a more reasonable price for people who want to bake with it.
We do.
And we do.
Yeah. No, that's good. I like seeing that.
But it does impact your product. Your final product is so much better. Like when you're using real chocolate. Like it's so wonderful. Like anyway.
Good.
Yum
yum. What are some future goals then for Turtle Mountain Chocolate? Now that you guys have started, you seem to be on a roll. Do you have any ideas that you want to share that you kind of see in the future?
Well, we're starting to reach out to wineries.
We've got
a few wineries that buy our chocolate. Tourism Center buys our chocolate. We're just identifying, I guess, partners that would make sense where we can sell it. That's going to be we moved into our home in last October. We hit the ground running. We just went to craft shows and farmers markets.
Right.
Really haven't had much of a break. We're break now for a couple of weeks, but
okay.
I think once the season is done, January, February, we're going to be probably targeting different wineries. We're in the Okanagan with natural wine, so we can work with. And
it's the wine culture there, and it goes really well. And I'm sure a lot of wineries would receive it very well. They don't have access to that great chocolate over there.
Yeah. Well, the ones that we've approached and dropped samples off, they've been impressed. So we'll see.
But they need to be educated too, right? Like you assume wine connoisseurs, whoever, understand everything about fine foods, but they don't. A lot of them know nothing about. So you have to also educate them. Exactly. And sometimes that can be a bit challenging because sometimes people in the fine food industry can be a little bit arrogant.
Yeah, a little bit. We're the opposite of that. No, it's when like they say, oh, just drop off some samples. Like, okay, well, what do you think will go well with your wine? We don't drink wine, so we don't know how to do the pairing. So we kind of need that. Well, what kind of flavors are you looking for to pair with that? One winery really liked our olive bar because it went really well with one of their wines, and then another winery really liked our raspberry burst, which is our white chocolate that went well with their dessert wine. And, just differently. So please help us help you.
Right.
But then when we've dropped things off, sometimes it's not to the owner, it's just to whoever.
Yeah.
person there, and they say, okay, I'll give it to the owner and they can taste it. That's without any education. So yes,
Right.
you are so right. You have to educate that person as
Yeah.
well. But we haven't even met them face to face. We've just dropped off chocolate, which is probably not the best way. I would rather go and spend an hour with them,
Yeah.
have a meeting.
Yeah.
But this is our learning curve as well, and we're new here.
And also meet them during a non-busy time. Like today,
Like summer is
the worst time. They're very
Right.
busy.
Yeah.
The shoulder season.
But it's just like anyone, consumers too, you can give them incredible bars, but if they sat down and had a tasting with you, everything really clicks, and they taste things that they wouldn't have tasted if you didn't show them how to sort of discover it, right? So it's a big part of it. Yeah. Okay, good. How can people reach you? What's the best way to purchase your chocolate? Where do you ship at the moment?
We've shipped all around the world, basically. We've shipped to Tanzania, we've shipped to the UK, we've shipped down to the States, we've shipped to South America,
Wow.
our chocolate. So it's really exciting. People can just order online if they want it. That's not a problem on our website. They can always, if they're local and they don't want to have a shipping fee, they can come and pick it up at the house.
Okay.
Factory is actually in our lower level. We've got our professional kitchen down
Mm.
our home, so
Or we drop
it off, or we're flexible. But like shipping is easy. Like we can ship it.
Okay.
I even shipped something just a couple of weeks ago in the heat, and it arrived back home in Ottawa, perfect condition.
Yeah. Did you have gel packs or?
No, I didn't even use. I
Wow.
wrapped them really, really well,
Wow.
and there were no gel packs in there. And I crossed my fingers and I said, "Please let me know if because it was I hadn't shipped anything in this heat, and it got there perfectly."
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm always worried about that as well.
I know it because you're spending all this money, and then you want the sort of melted chocolate and all blue chocolate, right?
Yeah. But then they can use it for baking, so it's not.
And they can use it for baking. Really good baking.
Wonderful. Well, it's really nice to learn about everything that you do, learn about Turtle Mountain Chocolate. Nice to meet you guys. And thank you. I wish you a lot of success. Sounds like you have a lot of energy, so you'll need that.
Thank you so much, Joseph.
Thank you, Joe.
All right. Awesome. Take care. All the best.
Download the free Bean to Bar app to connect with incredible chocolate makers from around the world. Also be sure to visit beantobarworld.com, your portal for all things fine chocolate, virtual tastings, free learning resources, research, and much more. Subscribe to the newsletter to stay in touch and donate to the free app and free resources here. Contact me for any chocolate-related questions you may have.